This video will illustrate how to take the first set of elements from a list up until a certain criteria is met. So there are ways in which we can select the first element. So you can take, for example, the first 5 elements of a list, but let's say you have a criteria that whenever it gets breached, you want to stop taking from the list, regardless of whether or not any subsequent elements actually pass the criteria. That's what the take_while function can be used for in F#. So let's see how we can use this, and we're going to create an input list for this. We're going to populate that with a few values. So first we'll just put in A, then we'll put in BB, then we'll put in CCC, and lastly we'll just put in a single D like that. Okay, so with this function now, if we send this to the List.takeWhile function, we need to provide some function here that tells us how to sort, or sort of how to find whenever to stop selecting elements from the list. So we would provide a function of input parameter x, and that would get mapped to x.length is less than 3. So long as this is the case, then we'll keep selecting elements, but as soon as this gets breached, then we'll stop doing it. So let's execute, and we'll see what we get. You can see in the output now that we get 2 elements in our list. We get A and we get double B. The reason why we get these is because first, this function that we define here gets applied to the first element. So we look at this A element here, and specifically we look at the length of it. The length is 1, which is less than 3, so we're good. We put it in the list and keep going. Next element that we get is double B. The length of this is also strictly smaller than 3, so we put it in the list and keep going. Then we get to CCC, and once we check this element, we can see that the length of it is 3, which means this criteria is no longer fulfilled. So we return false, and that means we don't include it in the list. And the interesting part is, for the last element here, we don't include that either, but because as soon as we breach the criteria that we specified, no subsequent elements will get added to the list. So this is a way for you to check a list that you know that the first elements should be included, and then to stop selecting elements once you hit a certain criteria.